The Honourable Judith Collins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What a depressing and distressing contribution from the Green Party member who's just resumed his seat. There I was, all excited to be coming to the House to speak on a bill put forward by my good friend, the Honourable Phil Goff, a new independent candidate for the mayoralty of Auckland. And I thought, well, Phil and I, we often do TV together, you know, not as much as Annette and I, but, you know, Phil and I do. And I thought, well, this will be good. And I read it, and I thought, oh, for goodness sake, come on. Really? Where's the harm that we're trying to fix? And I looked at it and thought, well, all the charter schools, or partnership schools as they're called here in New Zealand, at the moment they're teaching to the New Zealand's curricula. So where's the great harm? Well, the great harm is apparently because they might want to be teaching creation theories rather than scientific theories of evolution. Oh dear, well, so does the Bible. Should we ban that too? So does the Quran. Should we ban that too? So does all sorts of other things. Should we ban that too? Shouldn't we, in fact, be a parliament where ideas can flourish, even if we disagree with them and even if they're wrong? We should be able to do that, and so should our schools be able to teach the children that they need to teach the best way that they can. When I look at charter schools, and I have one in my electorate, South Auckland Middle School, the only complaint I've heard in my electorate, Papakura, about charter schools and partnership schools is that we don't have enough of them. That's the only complaint that I've heard. I know that there are entities working with young people who are really struggling in our schooling system, for whom the curriculum doesn't hold much joy, actually, who want to be able to do something to get some skills so that they can, in fact, become positively contributing members of New Zealand society rather than, say, members of New Zealand First. You wouldn't want them to become that. And when I look at some of those young people, and many of them come from homes that are pretty dysfunctional, but also some come from homes that I would not describe like that at all, but with caring parents or grandparents or whānau who are trying to do their very best for their children, and who somehow, for some reason, whether it's their fault, whether it's a disability, whether it's a teaching fault, something has happened or something isn't happening so that they're not getting the very best that they can from our education system. One of the reasons that I am someone who is in favour of this diversity in the provision of educational service is that I know that our prisons and our child, youth and family residences are full of people for whom our current education system, the way in which we teach, the way that we do things that work for the vast majority of young people, and which I fully support, actually have failed for these very few young people. And I don't want to see more people going into our prisons, or more people, particularly in child, youth and family justice services, because what we see in those is that it tends to be a one-way track through to a life of crime and misery. I want to see young people succeed in education, and I think everyone in this House does. We just sometimes disagree as to how to achieve that. As a parent, I can tell this House with all honesty that I was a complete expert in parenting until I became a parent. And then I suddenly realised that all the things I thought my parents had done wrong, they had done right. I did not understand that actually parents try so hard for their children, and as children, I think we are so often ungrateful for what our parents are trying to do, or even to understand the opportunities available to us to learn. These young people need something. They certainly don't need us getting all ideological and deciding what they need to learn. We need them to learn something. We need them to care, we need them to get passionate about something, we need them to learn, and we need to keep some freedom of choice in the provision of education. I support the provisions that David Seymour has brought to this Parliament. I do not support the contribution or the bill of my dear friend, the Honourable Phil Goff.